Hello guys, in this video I will share with you the meaning of financial system and the components of financial system. So if I ask you what is the indicator of a country's economic growth, or in another words, how do you say a country is growing on economic front? So your obvious answer will be the GDP and GDP growth rate. So GDP of a country, that is gross domestic product of a country, is the monetary value of all goods and services that is produced in a country in a year. When these goods and services are produced in a country, then some factor of productions are required, and one important factor of production is the money and capital. So a production unit need funds or capital to produce goods and services. Also, when goods and services are produced, then income is generated, and this income is distributed in the hands of factor of productions in the form of salary, wages, rent, profit. So when the units which receive these incomes in their hand, they get this income, and a part of this income is consumed in satisfying their demands of goods and services, and a part of this income is saved. So now we have a point where income is saved or the money is saved, which is the saving unit, but this money is required by production unit so that more capital formation, or in another words, more of assets can be created and more goods and services can be achieved. So the point where money is saved and the point where the money is required for further production, these 2 points are different. So we need a system which mobilize, which channelize the money from the point where it is saved and to the point where it is required for economic growth, because only when saving is invested, or only when the money that a household or the saving unit that they save is invested further, then only economic development can happen. So if you keep the money, the saving unit keep the money in lockers, so it will not generate anything for them, number one. Secondly, it will not be allocated for efficient economic activity. So उस पैसे से economic activity और नहीं हो सकती, and if there is no economic activity or the money is not further put into investment, so economic growth or the economic development will not happen, right? So one important feature of any country is that how efficiently this money is mobilized or this money is channelized to their productive use. For example, I am a salaried person. The salary that I receive, a part of the salary is I consume it or I utilize it, and a part is saved. Now if I keep my money, saved money with me, then it will not further be a factor of production and increase goods and production of goods and services. So it will also not generate income for me. So what I need to do, I need some instrument, some investment avenue where I can put my saved money. So what I have the options, I have the option to go for a bank FDR, fixed deposit at maybe some bank, or I can purchase shares, I can purchase bonds. So these are instruments. So in instrument के through I can put my saved money, जो पैसा मैंने बचाया, in instrument के through मैंने उसे invest कर दिया. So for example मैंने FDR कराया, so bank got my money, बैंक के पास मेरा पैसा चला गया. Now bank in turn, बैंक उसी पैसे को business units को lend करेगा for further production of goods and services. So my money, it reached to the destination with a middleman, which is the financial institutions. So there are some elements like financial institutions, financial instruments and financial services, financial market, which are supportive, which support the mobilization of money or the channelization of this money from saving unit to productive unit. So this we call as financial system. So financial system is a strength of a nation. एक कंट्री की स्ट्रेंथ है फाइनेंशियल नेशन, क्योंकि जितना स्ट्रॉन्ग फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम होगा उतना ही एफिशिएंटली जो रिसोर्स है, कैपिटल का जो रिसोर्स है वो यूटिलाइज एफिशिएंट एलोकेट होगा और जीडीपी ज़्यादा अचीव कर पाएगी वो कंट्री. एंड मोर जीडीपी मीन्स मोर गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज, प्रोडक्शन ऑफ मोर गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज. Production of more goods and services in turn will have more income that will be generated. More income will again increase the demand for goods and services. और ये पूरा व्हील है, पूरा एक सर्कल है जो फ्यूल करेगा ग्रोथ के इंजन को. सो फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम at the first instance, or the meaning of this financial system is the system which enables the financial transaction and exchange of money between investor, lenders and borrowers. In my case, I am the investor because I have the money, so I will invest it somewhere. Lender is the bank because I have put my money in the bank. Now money will lend this money to the borrowers from business units, which will utilize this money in capital formation. Capital formation means adding more assets, machinery, so that more goods and services can be generated. So this is the role of a financial system. So financial system is a complex model which consists financial services, financial institutions, financial market and all those elements which facilitate this mobilization of fund. Because being a saver, what a saver or an investor, what I expect is I must have a confidence in investment. मुझे confidence होना चाहिए कि जो पैसा मैं FDR में लगा रही हूँ या shares में लगा रही हूँ, my money is safe and it will generate the return which is expected. And how I am forecasting this? With the help of some information. So कुछ फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, कुछ एजेंसीज ऐसी है जो फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन फैसिलिटेट करती है, विच इज़ ऑल्सो अ रोल. फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम एक रोल है, बिकॉज जब कंपनी की इंफॉर्मेशन मेरे पास है, देन आई हैव द कॉन्फिडेंस कि मैं इस कंपनी के डिवेंचर खरीद सकती हूँ, बॉन्ड्स खरीद सकती हूँ, एंड माई मनी विल रीच टू द डेस्टिनेशन वेयर इट इज़ रिक्वायर्ड फॉर फर्दर यूटिलाइजेशन. So this is the role of financial system. So financial system of a country is consist of all these four major components which mobilize your savings to investment, right? So look at this picture here, the market, the instrument, the institutions. I have tried to portray the four components, and these four components, if I write it here, so these four components of financial system will be financial market, financial institutions, financial products. Financial products means financial instruments, and the financial intermediation and services. So the example which I have taken here, the instrument was the FDR. So instrument means the product which I will purchase, because somebody will issue, and with the use of that product, that security or instrument, I will put my money. So when I purchase FDR, I am giving my money to bank. So bank is issuer and I am investor, and the instrument is FDR. Financial institution is all those intermediaries or all those middlemen which facilitate these functions, right? So these four components, we will study these four components in further detail, elaborated aspect in the next video to come. In this video, I will just give you an overview of all these four components of financial system. So the four components of financial system here, if you look, is further classified into different aspects, and the whole of this is said to be the part of financial system. इन सब को मिला के एक कंट्री का फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम बनता है, और हमारा फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम, इंडिया का फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम भी इन्हीं चार कंपोनेंट से बना है, एंड विच इज़ एक्चुअली very strong, because we have seen the growth in our capital market, growth in mutual fund investment, growth in business and corporate. So financial system country का हमारा अच्छे से work कर रहा है. Look at this, the first component, financial institutions. Financial institutions are all those agencies, all those institutions which act as intermediary and middlemen, which facilitate the exchange, which facilitate the transactions of these financial money. So एक हैंड से पैसा लेना और उसी पैसे को दूसरे जगह देना, एक प्रॉपर प्लेस पे ट्रांसफर करना और चैनलाइज करना, all these works is done by financial institutions. Financial institution is classified into two parts: banking institutions and non-banking institutions. Banking institutions, all those institutions which does the commercial banking services and facilitates the exchange of capital, exchange of money, all are banking institutes. Non-banking institutes are other NBFCs, non-banking financial corporations, and other institutes which does not do the general commercial banking services, but again facilitate from taking fund or capital from one hand and lending this capital in another hand, or are non-banking institutes. Then comes the financial market. Financial market is a market where transaction or buying and selling of financial instruments or financial products take place. So, it is not a physical place. Financial market is not a physical place, but whenever a transaction happen, a financial transaction happen, it is considered to be happening in financial market. So, financial market can be categorized into two parts: capital market and money market. The word capital here means the long term. So, the market where long term products are traded, are bought and sold, are capital market, and where short term products means the instruments whose maturity is less than 1 year, such market is known as money market. So, financial market we will again further study this in greater detail in my next session. Then financial instruments mean the financial product or all those avenues which facilitate the investment of money for a saver. So, it can be classified into two on the basis of two factors: term and type. Term means the time period. So, on the basis of time period, financial instruments can be divided as short term, medium term and long term. In finance, short term means all those instruments which mature within a year are known as short term instruments, like treasury bills, commercial paper, certificate of deposits. Medium term is the instruments whose maturity is between 3 to 5 years. So, maybe some government of India bonds, some debentures, these may be medium term instruments. Then comes the long term. Long term means whose maturity is for longer period, like shares or like deep discount bonds or maybe bank loans. ये सब क्या है, लंबे समय के लिए maturity है. So, these are long term financial instruments. On the basis of type, financial instruments can be classified as primary, secondary and hybrid. Hybrid means the innovative instruments. Then comes the financial services. Not only fund transfer or the exchange or financial transaction is make part of financial system, but there are certain services also, because information flow or some supportive services, consultancy services is also required. So, we have financial services also as a component and part of financial system. Now, what is financial services? Financial services may be fund based or fee based. When I say fund based services, so fund based services means where actually a transaction of money take place. Money actually travels or transact from one hand to another hand, like leasing transaction, hire purchase transaction, bill discounting transactions, factoring transactions. ये सब financial services हैं which is a part of financial system. If we talk about fee based services, then these are the advisory, consultancy or some information giving services which facilitate the mobilization of fund. So, these services may be investment banking services, merchant banking services, credit rating agencies and depositories, all these are financial services. Now, let us do some details of these components. Financial market first. Financial market, if we classify financial market as in two aspects, it is capital market and money market. Capital market means the market, the word capital here means the market where long term securities are traded. So long term securities mean securities whose maturity is beyond 1 year, जिनकी maturity 1 साल से ज़्यादा की है. shares, bonds, debenture जो 1 साल के बाद ट्रेड मेच्योर होने वाले हैं, all those instruments are said to be considered to be traded in capital market. So capital market में सिर्फ लॉन्ग टर्म सिक्योरिटीज ट्रेड हो रही है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस, स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में बॉन्ड्स, शेयर्स ट्रेड हो रहे हैं एंड दीज आर लॉन्ग टर्म सिक्योरिटीज, लॉन्ग टर्म इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स. सो हम ऐसे मार्केट को कह रहे हैं कैपिटल मार्केट. सो स्टॉक मार्केट आर अ पार्ट ऑफ कैपिटल मार्केट ओनली. देन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया बॉन्ड मार्केट, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया बॉन्ड मार्केट इज ऑल्सो अ मार्केट फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म सिक्योरिटीज, लॉन्ग टर्म फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट्स. सो वो भी कैपिटल मार्केट का पार्ट है. अगेंस्ट इट वी हैव सर्टन इंस्ट्रूमेंट जो शॉर्ट टर्म मेच्योरिटी के होते हैं. वो जहाँ ट्रेड हो रहे हैं उन्हें हम मनी मार्केट इंस्ट्रूमेंट या मनी मार्केट कहते हैं. अब मनी मार्केट, एग्जाम्पल ऑफ मनी मार्केट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स आर ट्रेजरी बिल्स, सर्टिफिकेट्स ऑफ डिपॉजिट्स, कमर्शियल पेपर, रेपो ट्रांजैक्शंस. जनरली these money market transactions happen or is done by institutional investors. Institutional investor means the big agencies like banks, government or the big corporates, non-banking financial companies, they actually buy and sell money market instruments, not the retail or marginal investor like me and you. तो हम जनरली मनी मार्केट सिक्योरिटीज़ में ट्रेड नहीं करते हैं, बट बड़े इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर्स करते हैं. सो ऑल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, short term maturity instruments are considered to be traded in money market. So capital market and money market on the basis of instrument that is traded in or bought or sold in those market. Financial market can also be classified on the basis of primary and secondary market. So when I say primary market means the market where the instruments are launched or instruments are issued for the first time. Now understand very clearly that first time when a security or a product is launched in the market, उस trading को, उस transaction को we say it to be traded in primary market. For example, A Limited needs some money for its expansion plan. So it has decided to come out with a debenture. So they will issue debenture in the market and people will subscribe or apply for that debentures, and the company will receive the money and they will start their project. So now the company for the first time issuing new debenture in the market, debut कर रही है वो debenture market में. So such market is known as primary market. In primary market, the main feature is the transaction is between issuer and investor directly. Company और जो person जो उस instrument में पैसा लगा रहा है, उस product को खरीद रहा है, financial product को, उनके बीच में directly होता है. राइट. सो मैंने अगर प्राइमरी मार्केट में शेयर खरीदा आईपीओ के थ्रू या प्राइमरी मार्केट में कोई बॉन्ड या डिबेंचर खरीदा, इसका मतलब वो मनी डायरेक्टली उस कंपनी के पास जा रही है पहली बार, और उसके बदले में आई एम गेटिंग व्हाट, आई एम गेटिंग द प्रोडक्ट, द इंस्ट्रूमेंट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ शेयर्स, बॉन्ड्स और डिबेंचर. राइट. लेकिन एक बार कंपनी ने डिबेंचर इशू कर दिया या शेयर इशू कर दिया और कंपनी के पास पैसा चला गया, कंपनी स्टार्टेड दिस प्रोजेक्ट. नाउ दैट शेयर इज इन द मार्केट. कुछ इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, कुछ लोग हैं जिनके हाथ में वो शेयर्स हैं. नाउ दे वांट टू सेल देयर शेयर्स. तो एवरी टाइम कंपनी उनसे वापस खरीद के दूसरे को वापस नहीं देगी. नाउ दे आर ट्रेडेड इन अ मार्केट बिटवीन इन्वेस्टर टू इन्वेस्टर, and this market is known as secondary market. So in secondary market, the shares or debentures or any instrument which is already issued in primary market, they only exchange hands from Mr. A to Mr. B, from Mr. B to Mr. C. So company is not receiving or is not buying and selling shares or its instruments that it has issued all the time. It's between investor to investor. So such market is known as secondary market. So the trade at NSE, National Stock Exchange and Bombay Stock Exchange, ये स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में जो ट्रेड हो रहे हैं, मैं बोलती हूँ आई हैव परचेज शेयर्स ऑफ रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज. तो रिलायंस इंडस्ट्री के शेयर्स मुझे रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज ने नए शेयर नहीं दिए हैं, ऑलरेडी जिनके पास शेयर्स थे उन्होंने बेचा किसी ने बेचा और मैंने खरीदा. So ये transaction is said to be in secondary market. But if Reliance Industries will issue further new shares for the first time, then it will be said to be in primary market. So primary market for first time new security, right? And secondary market is already existing security. When they are bought and sold in a market, it is known as secondary market. So this is primary and secondary market. If I say about institutes, so we have a complex structure of the whole institutions which facilitate this mobilization of the fund. So when you put your money, invest your money, most of the time you are not directly dealing with the giving or purchasing from the company, or from directly purchasing the share or debenture or giving it to the company, but indirectly, because we will invest in the bonds of maybe some financial institution, and financial institution का काम है दूसरे हाथ से business unit को lend करना. So these financial institutions are generally the middlemen. So they are classified under banking financial institutions, specialized financial institutions, non-banking financial corporates, some regulators, agencies which are regulator of these financial institutions, and others specialized financial institutions. Banking means all those agencies or institutions that do commercial banking services also, with 3 accounts: current account, saving account, and fixed deposit account. So people put their money in these accounts, and they in turn use this money to lend to the business unit or production unit. So commercial banks, cooperative banks, post office saving banks, and then other classification of these banks also, these institutes are banking institutes. We will further study these banking institutes and the function of banking institutes in our coming lectures. Then comes the specialized financial institutions. These institutions, the primary role of this institution is accept deposits from the public, so that saved money can get into mainstream, and then channelize this money by lending it to business units. So now they don't do the normal commercial banking services, but they are specialized to fund and finance some economic areas, economic sectors. For example, IDBI, which is Industrial Development Bank of India, which is specialized to finance industrial projects. Similarly, we have EXIM, Export and Import Bank of India, which issues certain instruments to accept deposits. So if I am investing in bonds of Exim Bank, I am giving my money to Exim Bank, which in turn will give money to whom? To the business units which import and export. Similarly, NABARD stand for National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. So the specialized purpose of NABARD is to finance and give credit to agriculture and rural development activities, and the money that they will receive is in the form of bonds or deposits from public by the instrument that they will issue. So these are middlemen. वो एक तरफ से पब्लिक से पैसा लेती हैं और दूसरी तरफ एक स्पेशलाइज्ड पर्पस जिसके लिए उनका सेटअप हुआ है वहाँ पे क्रेडिट और फाइनेंस को देती है. सो वी हैव IDBI, ICICI, IFCI, RRBs are regional rural banks. So they are also specialized to look after the rural need, business need for money. IRBI, Exim Bank, and NABARD. So these are special financial institutions. Then comes the non-banking financial companies. So non-banking financial companies like insurance companies, pension fund companies, investment companies. Again, the purpose of these companies is to get money from the saving unit in the form of certain products, like Life Insurance Corporation sells insurance, where we put our money in the form of premiums. Similarly, Unit Trust of India, General Insurance Corporations, or maybe PPFs or pension funds. So these are non-banking financial companies. They accept deposits, they accept money from the public, and they also do a major function of lending. So they are also financial institution. Then comes the regulators. Regulators are the agencies who regulate these institutes. RBI, so all the banking and special financial institutions are regulated by Reserve Bank of India. SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India, all capital market activities, it comes under the regulatory umbrella of SEBI. तो SEBI इन सब के regulator है, means they makes guidelines, rules, norms, they do investor protection for capital market instruments and capital market institutions. Then we have other institutions also like IRDA, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authorities, and we will again elaborate these regulators in our further class. Then there are other agencies also which are not specialized, but they do certain services, they provide certain financial services, but they are institutes and agencies like ECGC, like depositories, credit rating agencies, merchant banking, factory companies, venture capital funds. These are also institutes, and they are these days doing a major work of mobilization of the fund, and they are good financial service provider companies also. Depositories means the agency or the company which are entitled to the task to hold the financial instruments in electronic form. So when I buy shares, so I will not get anything in my hand, my shares will be deposited in depository in electronic form. So ये काम depositories करती है, custodian करता है. Then credit rating agencies जितने financial नए instruments issue किए जा रहे हैं by the corporates or by business units, उनको rate करती है, A rating, B rating, C rating, so that I have this information कि how safe and what type of investment instrument is this. क्योंकि मैं इन्वेस्टर और जो सेवर्स हैं वो खुद से इतनी स्टडी नहीं कर सकता कि कौन सी बिजनेस यूनिट अच्छी है और कौन से प्रोडक्ट अच्छे हैं. सो दीज एजेंसीज दे डू दिस स्पेशलाइज्ड फंक्शन. देन द फैक्टरिंग कंपनीज, वेंचर कैपिटल फंड्स, दे ऑल do these financial services and are financial institutions. Then come the financial instruments. All these instruments that I have written here are long term instruments, right? Last thing is money market instruments, where I will give you the example of money market instruments. So instruments could be your ownership instruments, which give you the entitlement of the ownership title of a company, or it may be the debt instrument also. Equity shares, preference shares, industries debenture and bonds. Industries debenture and bonds means the debenture or bonds issued by corporates, issued by business units. Then government securities and bonds, where government borrow money from the public and issues bonds, and sometimes government also issue deposits. National deposit bonds, Kisan Vikas Patra, Indira Vikas Patra, NSC, that is National Savings Certificates. These all are instruments of Government of India, where Government of India borrows from the public. So Government of India issue करती है Kisan Vikas Patra, investor or we as an investor, we invest in Kisan Vikas Patra and our money goes to government, which will again be used for productive purposes. Deposits with banking institutes. So banking institutes, specialized banking institutes or banking institutes, दोनों ही deposits accept करती है. So all the time you can deposit in IDBI, you can deposit in SBI Bank. So these are also financial instruments, the bonds and deposits of banking institutes. Deposits with the company, besides debenture and bond, some companies also allowed to get deposit from the public also, that is also financial instruments. Then mutual fund units, insurance plans, these are also units जहाँ पे saver or the household retail investor, they can put their money. GDRs and ADRs are global depository receipts and American depository receipts. That means when we are inviting these deposits from rest of the world, so rest of the world से invite करने के लिए instead of issuing shares, company issue GDRs and ADRs. Then other instruments are short term instruments, which are money market instruments like treasury bills, certificates of deposits, commercial papers, money market mutual funds, etc. So these are instruments. In instruments के through पैसा लगाया जा रहा है with the help of middlemen, financial institutions using different financial services, and all these four aspects are considered as the component of financial system. Then comes the financial services. Quickly I will tell you what are the different financial services available. Long term and short term credits, hire purchase installment credits, financial and performance guarantees. Some of these services are fund based and some are fee based. For example, performance guarantee is not a fund based service, it is fee based service, where a bank or a institute, they take guarantee, your guarantee for performance, for filing some tenders or for taking some contract. So, such services are financial services which facilitate again the economic activities. Then credit rating agencies जो rating करती है different instruments का. Underwriting are the special work or services done by some institutes where जब नई securities issue करते हैं and if it is not subscribed by the public, then these underwriters, they take up the unsubscribed portion. Then leasing transactions, financial services का बहुत important part है. Some other financial services are credit cards, brokerage, portfolio management services, loan syndications, managing capital issues, custodian services and depository services. Some of these services are the functions of merchant banking. So, like loan syndication, portfolio management, managing capital issues, these services are the functions of merchant banking. So, merchant banking services are also important financial services that facilitate make strong the financial system of the country. So, this is the overview about the component of financial system of a country. We will further study these in detail in our upcoming sessions.